All right, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of Heart of the City. Today we're talking about your driving force and your reason why. And this could be anything from why you get up in the morning or why we do what we do. And considering we're at a barbershop, we're going to talk about why it is that we come to work every day. And that's honestly, it's because of our clients. Be able to do what it is that we do without our clients. Because, I mean, we can come around and sit around here with our thumbs up our butts all day, but without our clients, we're not putting food on the table, we're not providing for our families, it's not affording us the life that we want to actually live if we're not doing taking care of our guys and actually putting hair on the floor and making those meaningful relationships.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think it's something that we've done a really good job at is making the person in the chair feel like kings. You know, our focus since day one has always been the person in the chair. Obviously, we want to make sure that the barber's taken care of and the shop's taken care of, but, I mean, at the core of all of it, it's the person sitting in front of us. And, you know, I think for a more personal reason, I've always been somebody that's wanted to impact the world in a positive way. Especially growing up, trying to figure out what I want to do for a living, how I want to be a part of this world going forward. I always had this big pull that I needed something, more passionate, more deeper, something that actually gave me, a purpose for decades and decades. And, I didn't always understand what that was or even know what that really was, but the older I got is I really realized it's people, just to be able to connect with individuals and, change behavior for the positive for myself and for people that I'm always around. I've always had that more just deeper connection, more empathetic, more just serious mindset, but also thinking big picture always and wanting to improve the situation. I've always been one where the words I use are as technical and articulate as I can possibly be because I really want them to be powerful. I want them to improve on any setting that I could possibly be. And I'm really lucky enough to find a craft and find a skill where all I do is talk to people. Tell me another industry where you're one-on-one with strangers. And at the end of the day, they're coming to us, whether they know what we do.
Not anymore. This is like the last industry that you actually get an hour uninterrupted with your guys.
Yeah, face-to-face, inches away from each other.
No cell phone. Raw, vulnerable, open space. There's no place else you can do that right now. Yeah. I can't think of another industry. You don't do it in banking. You don't do it with your doctor.
Mm-mm.
You don't do it.
You don't even really do it in tattoo shops.
You don't.
You're in too much pain.
It's no conversation like we're doing.
There's no conversation there. They're just focused. It's the sound of the gun or whatever else. Nothing against it, but you'd be pretty hard pressed to find another industry right now that gets to make that connection. And I think that continues to grow as the mental illness crisis in the U.S. is really just starting to warm up. And we're going to see the effects of COVID in the next generation. It's a generational type event that's going to affect it, but it's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, we're honestly lucky. And how we obviously do business, whether it's an hour or an hour and a half with our clients, if you do this seriously and you do it as well as you can, that's 60 to 90 minutes of some real good, deep conversations, whether that's talking about each other's lives, whether that's connecting on similar interests, whether that's, talking about, more progressive behavior and, better habits. And, that could be anything from, the physical side, mental, spiritually, what you're eating, those type of conversations. I know, at least for me, I mean, that's almost 100% of all my guys that I'm talking to. Everybody that's in my chair, we're talking about how do we better ourselves, whether it's, personal development, family development, habitually, I think so many more people, at least in the world I'm in, it feels like more and more people are wanting to improve and wanting to grow, and having somebody that you can connect with, share ideas with, plant seeds, whether they're planting seeds in our heads, whether we're planting seeds in their heads, it's just we have a good chance to make things better.
But Ace, that's the difference between you two guys being 8-year, 7-year, 6-year barbers, 8-year shop. You can have more meaningful. What about the guys that are cutting clients for first time? You know, you hear a lot of talk about sports, box office, Netflix. It's not a very in-depth conversation, and so I feel like that's one of the real benefits of like staying in your lane, building your books, building your clientele, staying in the same shop, because you can have those connections. But outside of that, I mean, how many times can you talk about
Only
sports?
so much.
I mean,
Only so much.
Yeah, and well, you're going to have a small amount that connect with you on that. Eventually, they're looking for something more meaningful.
Yeah. Well, it's we used to have an old barber that worked here, and a piece of advice that he gave all the younger barbers is they're sitting with you for a reason, so they already think you're cool. So just start talking to them.
Buster. What
Bust
a
a
great
crust.
barber. What
So-
a great barber.
Yeah.
Great people person. He did a great job. Buster, hope you're well. Love that guy.
Yep.
I think at the beginning of your career, for obvious reasons, you're so concerned and focused on the technical side of it all. And you got to be patient with yourself. I mean, the best thing you can do is just keep getting more education, more education, more education. You know, just like life, you got to go through more experiences to have that discomfort be more comfortable. So that's, you can't go through, you got to go through that. There's no other way around it. But, you know, to really find meaning is what you're actually doing. You know, my first thing is, you know, I'd really challenge people. If you've already gotten yourself to become a barber, you got your license, you're going through it, whether you know it or not, you have that internal pull for the history of this industry, of what we're doing. And I'd really challenge everybody in this industry to make your meaning people. Like, focus on that person. I mean, how can you connect on that person?
It's not that way. It's a broken industry. Barbers create content for other barbers.
Yeah.
They don't create content for their clients. Barber battles? Are you kidding me? Do plumbers do this? Do plumbers wear gold wrenches around their neck?
No.
They
I have a feeling I'm about to start to see it.
Casey says some of them might. He chuckles over here. But, you know, look, I think if there's one thing in this industry, and I'm not trying to negate your point or anything, I'm just saying, like, I think one part that the guys get it wrong, because, you know, Ace, you're like, hey, it's all about the client. And it's clear that you and John feel that way as I watch you guys interact with your clients. But I think a big part of the industry that's kind of broken on the why is guys don't have a why. They don't even have one. They create content for other barbers. Events are thrown for other barbers. Events are look at me, look at me, look at me. And I think that's a real issue. It becomes a real problem. Where if everyone took a different approach, it's like it's 100% about the client. This would be a very different industry than what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it has a chance to be incredible. I mean, we have the chance to
And
impact
people
every
do.
personnel on this whole planet.
And people do make it incredible. There's incredible barbers. There's incredible shops. There's incredible brands. There's incredible experiences. But I think when it's not incredible, one of the core reasons is the guys haven't identified their why. They're in it. You know, some of these guys, I don't think they know why they're in it.
Well, I think it's important that you have your why, that you come to work, and you show up for your clients. But I think it's important to have a why that's not necessarily shop related, because I don't think it's any coincidence that the three of us that have been doing the longest and are pushing the hardest are all also the three that actually have families.
I agree. Well, it's not just, you know, I see it from a different perspective. I don't show up for clients in the same way that you guys show up for clients. I show up for clients in a different way. I show up to make sure the brand is the best, make sure the experience is the best, make sure you guys have the tools, make sure you guys have everything that you need to be able to support your families, but also fulfill it for yourselves. And I think that's a big part that I can tell when a barber's struggling. Like, I know you guys well, and it doesn't take me long to figure out when a barber's struggling. And when a barber's struggling, it's usually they're struggling with themselves. I know that sounds super simple, but they're not struggling with their career. They're not struggling with their clients. Internally, they're trying to find their meaning. They're trying to find their purpose. They're trying to find what it is that really motivates them. I mean, we established last week it's not money. And I agree, it's not money. It's got to be something else. And I think that when people fail to identify their why or the importance of why they really got into it, it washes them. You know, I mean, I would say the 2 to 4 year mark, if they even make it to the 2 year mark. If they even make it to the 2 year mark, the 2 to 4 year mark has an incredible washout rate. Because you're just cutting hair. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything to feed your soul. You're not doing anything to better yourself. Your clients don't feel anything from you. You're giving them a haircut. And I think that, you know, so when you do show up because you have a family and you show up for the shop and everything else, you got to show up for yourself. And I think that's a key ingredient that a lot of these barbers miss.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on both your guys' points, but I mean, to start with yours, Pops, you know, especially if you are struggling to find that, like, just concrete, this is my meaning in life. You know, it's not always that black and white. It's not that simple for really anybody, but especially if you are struggling with that why or that meaning, you know, my first thing that I would recommend for everybody is, you know, just dive headfirst into the industry. You know, focus 110% on your actual skill itself. And I'm a big believer, it doesn't matter if it is being a barber, if it's playing basketball, being a chef, any skill that you're going in for, if you give something 100% focus and you just give yourself to that skill, it eventually evolves over time into a craft. And I'm a big believer that that word craft can be applied to so many different things.
Absolutely.
But it's really one where when you just dive 1,000% into that idea or that thing, you put in all the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that it requires, but you're always trying to grow. You're always trying to evolve. You're always trying to adapt with it. You're always trying to improve on that. And I'm a big believer if you do dive head first and you fully commit into something, that meaning will come. I think that's like the beauty of life. And, you know, sometimes you get the meaning first, and that's what drives you to keep on going. But I think a lot of times, you know, you have this inner pull or this interest. I love using the word curiosity. I'm a big believer that passion is found through the pursuit of your curiosity. And it's one of those where if you're curious about something, you'll keep on growing and wanting more and wanting more and wanting more. I mean, we all know it. You know, if you don't care about an idea or a topic, the moment you don't have to do that anymore, you're on to what you want to do. That's behind me. I don't care about that anymore.
We see it.
But if you're into it and you're curious about it, you'll stay up till 2 a.m. reading more about it or learning more about it or watching more about it. And, you know, if the barber industry specifically is that curiosity, you know, follow that. Just dive headfirst into that. Just 100% focus on that. Let the meaning come to you. But you have to give yourself fully. And I think that's a big internal thing, you know, because at the end of the day, no one's going to do it for you. No mom, no dad, no boss, no friends can keep on pushing you to do it. You have to do it. So you as the individual, especially going to your point, is you do have to do it for yourself first. Because no one else is going to do it. This is your life. You know, you're the master of your own destiny. But you got to put in the work to actually do that. And then to your point, you know, I think family is a huge dynamic for so many people on this planet. You know, it's one where when you are working for your partner or any children that you have, your immediate family, you know, you see that bigger picture. You know, I think having kids, you know, is one big thing that it almost, you know, forces you to think about other people other than yourself.
You want to talk about a perspective shift?
Yeah, which is awesome that you're going through that right this second. And
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
It's awesome. 3 hours of sleep a night. It's awesome.
Let's go.
But, you know, those are those human instincts and things that you're going through that it's you're not just thinking about yourself only. You know, you're thinking about your family. You're thinking about your kid's future. You know, you're thinking 20, 50 years down the road, and having a child kind of makes it easier just because, not that you have to, but if you take parenting seriously and you take your life seriously, you know, that happens, which is an awesome thing to keep you waking up, keep you showing up, keep you trying to improve. because you're trying to put food on the table for multiple people. You're trying to give them a safe place to live and grow up in, and give them their chance to keep on improving and keep on improving themselves. And even to your point, well, I guess to both, but I think you specifically, you're somebody where you want to see other people win. I mean, I've never met somebody else that really wants to see non-family members, not even just friends, but you want to see your circle and the people that you can impact win. And, we can call that family. I mean,
Yeah.
I know how close you and I are and how close all three of us are. I mean, when you've had, tens of thousands of hours of conversations in your house, in your living room, in our cars, obviously at work, we've put so much personal communication to each other where, sure, we're not biological by any means, but we're so much closer than most families out there.
I would agree.
So just to impact your circle or my circle and our circle, you want to see other people win. First, you obviously got to take care of yourself. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. But once you can take care of yourself enough to keep on growing and focusing and finding that meaning, especially through your craft, having an additional influence of having family, having a partner to just keep on going and keep on growing, and just understanding that, I mean, the grass is green wherever you water it, but that puts in effort, and nobody's going to do it but yourself. To understand even more about myself, I always go back to my childhood. How I always like to say it is, I'm the youngest out of 4 boys. I grew up in the most traditional way you could ever grow up in Salt Lake City, Utah. My dad was a bishop. He was the police officer that created the DARE program. He was a detective for 20 years. He's been a judge for 20 years. You put that into a parent. How you think my childhood was exactly how my childhood was. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of effort. It was great discipline. There was a lot of, you're putting in the work to grow. I love my family to death. I'm spoiled. I really had parents that talk the talk, but they walked the walk. And be able to see people actually put in that effort that they're, really trying to ask out of you, they're living that way. And, you don't always see it as a kid, but, when hindsight, as you grow up, you can really appreciate that. And I realized more people I talked to, how spoiled I actually was having all of that. But if I could boil down my parents' strategy is they wanted well-rounded sons. And to be well-rounded, you're putting an effort on every quadrant of life. That's definitely the physical side, the mental side, the spiritual side, habit side. I mean, everything you're doing, you're trying to grow on. And, there's always one where, if whatever your weakest link is on that circle, that's where you put more effort in to keep on growing and expanding that circle and becoming more well-rounded. And, I think we're lucky to find a craft and have an industry where this is a very well-rounded industry. I mean, we're talking to people all day long. Like, we're impacting, we're communicating all day long. It's a skill that we all talk about how that's the number one thing is, communication's key. Communication's everything, whether it's business, personal life, relationships. If you ever have an issue, it always boils down to communication. I mean, it's as simple as that. And we literally do that 50 hours a week with 50 different strangers. Like, that's awesome that we get to do that. But we're creating something. We're building something with our hands every hour. We're learning how to take care of other people. I mean, I think that's such a big deal I think when you have taken care of your individual self and you love yourself so much, you realize you have so much to give. And when you're able to actually give that to other people, that meaning is there, that impact is there. You're bettering your circle, your family, your core that you have. And there's so much power knowing that you're influencing people in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And having a family, knowing that your influence is positively impacting them, there's no greater feeling. When you see your kid, behave in a great manner, and they did it by watching you or listening to you over time, like that's such a huge win. And then, with your clients, you've talked to this gentleman for 20 hours over the last year, and you see how much they've improved themselves, how much they've grown by it, whether you're able to connect on the things you talked about a year and a half ago of bettering habits-wise or bettering life-wise or just connecting with them on a personal level. And again, there's not a lot of industries that we get to impact people.
I'll give you guys a little bit different perspective because you guys really have it figured out from the client perspective. You guys have it, you're cutting clients, you're meeting with clients, you spend time with 9 clients a day. As an owner, it's totally different because I'm further away from the clients than you guys are. So I'll share a little bit of my why, my story, and like kind of how the barbershop came to be, because people ask me this all the time. Why barbershop? How'd you get into it? A lot of people know that I was in a previous industry. I was in trucking and import and export and stuff like that. I left that industry and spent some time just kind of trying to find myself, traveling around, fishing, a lot of stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and I moved back from Mexico. And when I first came back from Mexico, a lot of people in my circle knew I was looking to kind of get into something else. I had some restrictions of things I couldn't get into. I couldn't get into trucking. I couldn't get into transportation, logistics, energy. I had a certain dynamic I couldn't get into. Because people are always like, man, why barbering? Like, what's the deal? And I had some pretty interesting ideas brought to me. And 2 of those ideas, one was a bar and one was a strip club. And to be honest with you, I was strongly considering both. I mean, let's face it. I'm in my early 40s. Who doesn't want to own a bar? Who doesn't want to own a strip club or whatever else like that? And I went down those paths pretty far. And then I just woke up one day and I'm like, okay, kind of what's my purpose in this? Do I really want to be, and this is nothing against anybody that owns a bar. Do I really want to be in a business that feeds addiction, destroys family, possibly kills people, somebody gets overserved, somebody does something, they go out, they kill somebody, destroys their life, destroys relationships, and I didn't want to do that. And it was at that time that I looked and I said, okay, I want to do something positive. I want to be involved in what I call a clean business. It makes people happy. It makes people feel better. It makes people, you get to celebrate all their wins in life, birthdays and weddings and even funerals. Just, I wanted to be in an industry that built people up. I did not want to be in an industry that tore people apart, moved people away from each other, anything like that. And that's basically where the barbershop came from. That's the idea. Is it came into my world because I wanted to be a positive influence. And much like I said earlier, you know, I want to see I want to see people win. I want to see barbers do well, provide for their families, have opportunities. And I've been very fortunate. I've met a lot of people that have worked for us. I've met a lot of people that haven't worked for us, but we have relationships with. And it's fun. It's fun to watch you guys like grow and watch you guys succeed and watch you guys develop and all that stuff. And that's a big part of the why for me. I mean, in the beginning, that was the foundation of it. Why I wanted to build something different. You know, we can go into it in another episode, you know, about pricing and trying to help you guys actually create something that you can make a living at and not, you know, just be the bottom of the food chain and stuff like that. But it is, you know, but I think because I was in touch with my why and I was able to identify it before I got started, it is such a foundation of the shop that this shop doesn't really falter because it knows its identity. It knows its why. It knows its purpose. So on the days where you feel like you want to leave the industry or the days that you feel like you just don't want to do it anymore, it comes back to that why. Well, why did you get into it? Why did you do it? And, you know, still to this day, I don't think you can replace it with anything else. If that's your why and that's my why, what am I going to replace that with? Nothing to replace it with for me as a shop owner. So I do that. I get to work with you guys. I get to create an incredible experience, an incredible space. You guys get to hand that off to your clients. And it kind of just all comes back full circle between us all.
Yeah, and I would argue that every person on this planet wants to impact the world in a positive way.
I'd certainly hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think deep down it really does. Take away the insecurities and the traumas and the other reasons that you're what you've been through already that's holding you back. But if you stripped all that away, I'm a big believer that if humans want to impact the world in a positive way, they want things to be better. They want things to be more positive.
They do, but how do you address the barber that just says, "I just want to cut hair"?
That only gets you so far.
Yeah, but I hear that is the fallback. That is basically people say that when they don't want any more growth. I mean, it's the thing that I hear that I just shake my head. I just want to cut hair. What does that even mean? Mm-hmm. What I hear is I want to be paid the most amount of money. I want to work the least amount of hours. I want to make the smallest amount of contribution to the shop. I don't want to have to communicate with my clients. I want your app and your website to do it all for me. I want to show up. I want to cut hair. And I want to leave. And I don't want to have to worry about anything else that goes on in the shop. To all you barbers, listen to this. Think about for a minute if the shop owner did that. I don't want to talk to the barbers. I don't want to do anything extra in the shop. I don't want to market. I don't want to advertise. I don't want to build a brand. I don't want to give you the tools that you need. I want to do the absolute bare minimum. How long does it? We've seen shops do that. They're not around. And so, yeah, I think everyone wants a better world, but talk's cheap. And in the way we run things here at City Barbers, you guys have more flexibility to do what you want than in any time we've been in business.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
It is. I mean, you guys can literally just about do anything you want. I mean, obviously there's rules, and we want you to stay in your lane for the brand, and I don't want you wearing headphones while you're cutting a client, and we're not just going to start mounting TVs, and you can't tell off-color jokes. I mean, okay, that stuff aside, you can do what you want. But far too many times, barbers in this industry, I hear it, not just in my shop, I hear it from other shop owners. I just want to cut hair. It's hard to be impactful. It's hard to change. It's hard to make meaningful, deep connections with your clients when that is the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you have a conversation with a barber. No, man, it's all good. I just want to cut hair.
Well, I think it goes to our last episode.
Yep.
It's one where when you are living in that comfortable space, there's, a lot of people want to stay in that comfortable space. And to be, a strong individual to push through that, it's not easy to do. But if you're an individual that can push out on your own, you have that feeling or you have that desire to impact the world in that positive direction. But if you are one of those people that are stuck in that comfortable and you just want to cut hair, two things are going to happen. You're either going to live in that comfort for too long, and then life's going to teach you those lessons. Life will eventually catch up. Life's moving still.
It washes barbers out.
Yep. Yeah, and so life is eventually going to hit you with all of that, and it's going to either force you to adapt, or it's going to force you to get out, or you're going to be that strong individual that can pick it apart and learn on their own to learn those life lessons.
Let me ask you both this. Will you hit that up for me? Let me ask you both this. Of the barbers that you know, how long have they been cutting hair? Now, I can count on one hand some barbers have been cutting a long time. I'm going to put Farzad in that. I'm going to put Gio in that. I'm just going to put the whole Ruzel Scorum family in that. I'm probably going to put Matty Conrad in that. Outside of that, how many guys do you really know that are been in this industry a long time? Because I think the industry reinvented itself and it's still pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think if you got 6 years under your belt, 7, 8, 9, 10 years under your belt, you're a senior and you have a responsibility to be leading this industry, because it's kind of the next generation taking over. And there was a big gap. I mean, we all know barbering almost died.
Mm-hmm.
It nearly died. Thank God it didn't. I don't know that it's even possible that it really could have, but it was down pretty good. And obviously it's come back. And so those guys that are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years into it are really extremely seasoned to that. And I think that there's a huge responsibility for guys like you at your point in your career to help shape the younger guys. Come on, guys, let's just face it. Like, the younger guys that come through the shop, and I'm not talking shit on you guys, but I'm talking shit on you guys. I'm going to use the word commitment. The commitment level is almost non-existent. It's tough. So how do we change that and help these guys figure out, like, a why? Like, hey, man, you got to have a why before you come in it. But they know 3 buddies that used to bartend and now they're barbers, and how easy it is, and it's easy money. This just in, guys. Casey, flash this up on the screen. The easy money era is over. If you guys are thinking about getting into barbering because it's easy money, you missed it. It's gone.
It was 8 years ago.
It was 8 years ago. That was the easy money era. There's nothing easy. Now, the good news is, if you've gotten into this game in the last 8 years, or you're thinking about getting into it now, it's a great time, because you're going to work your ass off. And it just gets easier every year. Do you feel it gets easier every year?
It's definitely different. It's the more technical side, I think, definitely gets easier over time. I want to say harder. It's definitely not harder, but it's more of the priorities kind of shift, and like your focus really shifts on it all. I think anything that's great is hard. I think that's how it's supposed to be. You got to put in effort, you got to put in time. But it's one where, the more experiences that you've gone through, the more comfortable you are in those difficult times. So I wouldn't say that it's easier, but you have more perseverance, you have more awareness, you have more fortitude.
What happens?
To keep on
What happens
going.
if you lose a client? Is that hard?
I
know it.
Like,
I know it
depends
depends
on how, why you lost them.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
know it depends on the client, because sometimes they just don't want to grow and move with you, and there's just a philosophical point of, how dare you raise your price? You can't raise your price, but yet.
I love getting those texts.
I know, just like you've priced me out of the market. It's like, well, I got a family too. Okay, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about losing a client without going into specifics. I don't want to. You lost a client recently, a very publicized client, and you lost him due to a very tragic event. I'd imagine that's pretty hard, because you get close to these guys. You get what I'm saying, like, so being harder isn't always just about the technical part or about the relationship part. It can run deeper about, like, man, you cut his hair for 8 years. Never come in the shop again. You didn't get a chance to really close out a relationship or have a final conversation. You just read about it in the paper, and you're just like, shit. Can't believe that. Good client of the shop. And unfortunately, there's more of that to come, I'm afraid.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's multiple views to point on that. If you're talking about actually losing somebody, or almost losing a client to something real, something really physical, like really we're talking about life here. Obviously,
well,
that's
we see it.
incredibly hard.
We see it all the time. We see it with guys going in and out of rehab. We see it with people with addictions. We see it with people with mental illness. We see it tragic accidents.
Yeah, those are hard. I'll speak for myself here, but I mean, within a 2-week span, I had 2 clients that I'm at the Joel S. Sorensen rehab facility going through level 10 traumatic injuries.
These are brilliant people. These are not.
They're incredible people. And, one specifically, one of my clients, Benjamin Eater, he's an inspiration. To see what he went through in August and see what he's already going through now. I'll be honest. It was hard going to that hospital and taking care of him because I care so much about him. I mean, it was amazing being there. I mean, it was 2 hours of giving him a haircut and shaving his face and just seeing his smile and talking to him. Like, that was incredible. I mean, him and I have talked about it a bunch, but that's got a special place in my heart, and I care more about that than most experiences in this industry. But it was definitely hard, seeing somebody that you really do care so much about. I mean, I've spent hours on hours talking to this individual. We're basically the same age, and seeing how much of an inspiration he was before his accident, seeing it during, and seeing where he's at now. I mean, it's just one of those life lessons of, like, man, we got this. Like, we can keep on growing. We can keep on improving.
You got so much to give. You don't even realize how much you can give another person till something like that happens, and you just think that you totally ran out in your tank, and you give more, and you do it multiple times over.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just wondering, it's different. It's different for you guys.
Yeah.
And I do think your challenges are different at this point. You're not worried about how to cut a pompadour, or how to scum somebody out, or how to fix a haircut, or it is what it is. You guys do that, but I do think the difficulty comes when those relationships pivot, when those relationships change, when those relationships you're forced to do something different, and sometimes we don't even have a say in it. Sometimes in John's case, when it didn't have anything to do with us and the shop or anything, we just have to read about it, and we're just a civilian casualty like his family and everybody else. But those are impactful. People know these people. We know these people. They're good clients of the shop. They come through. We're going to miss seeing them. And I think that's where the real power of the shop comes in with you guys in your relationships.
I mean, to that point, the relationships that we built could be quite impactful. I mean, the first 18 months that we were open, we had a client whose wife passed away in the morning, and he was in the shop early afternoon because this was the one place he knew that he'd be treated like family.
Yeah, and just needed that connection with people.
Oh, yeah. I think you and I, we could tell you so many times how many of our clients have, let us know very early on in the stages of losing somebody, going through divorces, losing their job, real personal mental struggles, whether it's mental illness or real traumas that they've gone through or just went through. And, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've shed a tear with my guys because we both care about each other so much. But it's also one where, knowing that you have that level of a relationship with so many grown-ass men, so many people that are, older than myself, and being able to know that they're comfortable with sharing their true, honest feelings, knowing that there's not going to be any judgment, knowing that there's not going to be anything held against them. It's just a time to actually, get things off the chest and be honest and be vulnerable, and knowing that that's going to be received well.
In a safe space.
Yeah, and not everybody has that. I mean, I think most people don't have enough of that. And I think that's why a lot of us gravitate towards serious relationships. If you really do have one person that you can really be vulnerable and honest with, it goes a long ways with your own stability.
Why does the barbershop create that? Not just our barbershop. I mean, we're not the only shop that has clients like that. What is it about the barbershop space that it feels so safe to people when they feel like their world is falling apart? I almost feel like there's a sign that says, "Man, if you don't know where else to go to the barber shop, and they're going to make everything right." And you guys, to a degree, man, you're therapists, you're financial planners, you're investment counselors, you're chefs, you're concierge, you're the local guide, you're a little bit of everything. I mean, and it's just interesting to me that the barbershop has become that piece in the community where if all else fails and you don't know, go to the barbershop.
Well, man, that goes
we've
back
literally had
decades.
therapists
Yeah.
recommend their clients come to City Barbers.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes to, how real is this actually, but it's, it's in our DNA. This
I think it's very real.
This craft has been around for, thousands and thousands of years. So, having that continual space, I think the chairs have a big impact of that. It's kind of like once you're in this setting, once you're in this environment that literally every generation has gone through, it's always kind of been that safe space. And, specifically talking about, men, obviously we have female clients, but, men, there's always this huge conversation where, trying to let every guy know that it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be honest with yourself. A lot of people still struggle with that. A lot of guys still really struggle with that.
Well, a lot of guys don't want to show that at home. They don't want to show that at home. They need to be strong. We don't know what they're going through at home. We don't know what their wife or their partner or their kids or anyone's going through. And a lot of these guys need to be strong at home.
Oh, yeah.
They do. Maybe their world's collapsing, and he's the one guy that can hold it all together for that whole family. So when he gets in the shop, I feel that there's this, brotherhood, this, God, I can just finally release. And once they get a feel that they can release, sometimes emotions are just...
Well, it's amazing that
they're powerful.
We're able to be a part of that. If you don't have that meeting, if you can't find that meeting, I mean, there's another one there right there for you. You get to really be that place for gentlemen to, express their real feelings. Take that seriously. It's such a powerful thing that we're a part of, and it's huge. It's just progressing that conversation and being that one-on-one, face-to-face. It's not some teledoc telling you it's okay to have these feelings or to work through them. It's somebody that you've already spent hours and hours with. You trust them, you like them, you appreciate them, and then on top of that, it's having a best friend. Having that best friend that you can tell everything to. You actually care about them. You know about their life, their family, where they live, what they're going through. That's so much more impactful than a random stranger, on a screen. Or even a doctor. It's how intimate is that relationship really? And when you know more about me and my life and my family and what I'm going through as an individual, and I know more about you and what you're going as an individual with your life, with your work, with your family, the deeper connection that we can have, it helps me, it helps them. And I just think that is such an incredible thing that we're doing all day long if you take this seriously. I mean, it betters you and I, but it absolutely can better the person in the chair as well.
I would tell anybody listening to this podcast that if you're looking at a barbershop as just a place to get a haircut, you're really missing what the power that a barbershop has. For people that are just like, oh, it's just a haircut, I don't care, I want to get in and get out. You're missing an opportunity to make deep, meaningful connections and to also have a space where, and we get it. We get clients that come in, they don't talk. This is my hour. I don't want to talk. Half of them are meditating. I get it.
Might be their hour of relaxation of the whole month.
It is, and we're not there to tell anybody, but I think the message I do want to tell everybody, especially about not just barbershops, but particularly about City Barbers is, yeah, we're going to give you the best damn haircut of your life. That's a given. But it's a safe space. And you can come in, and there's no judgment. You want to talk, we're here to talk. You don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. But guys, quit looking at your barbershop as just a place to get a haircut and look at it more as try to make a connection with people that are in the industry because they enjoy people. Yeah. People aren't in this industry because they're artistic. I get it. Everybody has an artistic side, but they're in this business because they love people. And I think it's an incredible resource that you can tap into if you're not, you just want to talk. You just want to talk through something. Man, book an appointment. Sit down with your barber. I think you'd be amazed at the amount of experience they have. the amount of knowledge that they have, the compassion that they have. And that'd be my advice to anybody that's, looking at a barbershop as just a place to get a haircut. You're looking at it wrong. You really are looking at it all wrong.
Yeah, I agree, and especially for the clients. If you're not leaving influenced and impacted and wanting to improve your life and be better, go get yourself another barber, a better barber. There's better barbers out there that are really trying to impact yourself and impact their circle more. And for barbers out there, use your skill and your craft as a tool to do that. And if you're not leaving your day influenced to be better and impacted to be better, step your skills up, improve your game, so then you can do that with your clients, and then ultimately you're going to be getting better clients that are also going to be pushing themselves to be better as well. And when you're surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, like-minded individuals as yourself, that are always trying to grow, always trying to improve, on that personal development, everybody wins. And we want a world full of winners. And if everybody's winning
Amen.
and helping each other win, this world can be amazing. It is amazing, but it can be so much better.
Yeah. All right, wrap up, John.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in. Just to leave you guys on a note, if you're struggling, if you need help, we're not trained professionals, but we'll help talk you through it the best we can, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction if you need to actually see someone. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Outstanding.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.